Commander Voxar of the Tarkian Expeditionary Force stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Righteous Conquest, observing the blue-green planet through the main viewport. Earth. Such an unassuming name for such a troublesome world. Status report, he barked, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. A nervous habit he developed during his 3 centuries of military service. Lieutenant Prell approached, her exoskeleton clicking against the polished floor. Sir, our scouts report that the humans have dispatched medical ships to the Centauri colonies. Again, Voxar hissed through his breathing slits. Test Connard. How many times must we teach these creatures their place in the galactic hierarchy? The Centauri rebellion is an internal Tarkian matter. Human interference is unacceptable. But sir, Prell said, her voice lowered to avoid being overheard by the bridge crew, they're only sending medical personnel. No weapons. No military. Just doctors and medicine. Voxar slammed all 6 of his appendages against the command console, causing everyone on the bridge to flinch. Do you think I care? Their humanitarian aid undermines our authority. The Centauri must learn that rebellion means suffering. When the humans heal them, they extend the conflict. He turned to his weapons officer. Target their medical ships, all of them. The weapons officer, a younger Tarkian named Grell, hesitated. Sir, attacking medical vessels violates the Galactic Accord of. The accord applies to civilized species. Voxar interrupted. Humans are barely more than animals with spaceships. They've been spacefaring for less than 2 centuries. We've ruled the stars for millennia. He leaned closer to Grell. Or perhaps you'd prefer to join the humans. I hear they have excellent medical care for traitors. Grell swallowed audibly, antennae drooping in submission. Targeting medical ships, sir. Voxar returned to the viewport, watching as the targeting systems locked onto the 5 Earth vessels. Such primitive designs, focused entirely on function rather than intimidation. Typical human thinking. Fire. Use. The Tarkian weapons lanced out, brilliant purple energy beams slicing through space. The human ships, marked prominently with red crosses on white backgrounds, never stood a chance. They didn't even have proper shields. One by one, they exploded in silent bursts of flame and debris. No escape pods launched. No distress signals detected. Total annihilation. Voxar allowed himself a satisfied smile. Send a message to the human government. Inform them that any further interference in Tarkian affairs will be met with similar consequences. Lieutenant Prell nodded. But Voxar noticed her hesitation. Something troubles you, Lieutenant. It's just the humans. They've never engaged us militarily. They only send aid workers. Doctors, scientists, teachers. Precisely why they're so dangerous, Voxar replied. They undermine our authority with kindness, make our subjugated worlds question why we don't treat them with similar compassion. He spat the last word like a curse. Return to our patrol route. The Centauri will soon learn that no help is coming. As the Righteous Conquest turned away from Earth's solar system, none of the Tarkians noticed the small Earth satellite that had recorded everything. General Harriet Blackburn stared at the footage for the 5th time, her weathered face expressionless as she watched the Tarkian ships destroy the medical vessels. 5 ships. Over 1,200 personnel, doctors, nurses, engineers, and support staff, all gone in seconds. The conference room was silent, except for the sound of Admiral Torres grinding his teeth. They hit the Geneva. Admiral Torres finally said, flagship of our humanitarian fleet, aimed after the damned Geneva Convention, which apparently means nothing to these 4-eyed bastards. Blackburn sighed, pausing the footage. They've been doing this for months, intercepting aid shipments, threatening our colonial borders. But this, she gestured to the screen, this crosses the line. President Russell, attending via secure holographic link, looked even more exhausted than usual. What are our options, General? Well, Madam President, the Tarkians have a fleet that outnumbers ours 10 to 1. They've been spacefaring for over 3,000 years. Their technology is superior in nearly every way. So we're screwed, Torres said. I didn't say that. Blackburn replied with a hint of a smile. I said nearly every way. Remember Project Valkyrie? The president's expression darkened. The one your team assured me we would never need to use. Yes, ma'am. That's the one. Explain for those not in the loop, the president said, nodding toward the Secretary of Defense, who looked completely confused. Blackburn pressed a button, and the screen switched to images of sleek, black ships unlike anything in Earth's known fleet. The Tarkians have been spacefaring for millennia. We've been at it for barely 2 centuries. But there's one area where humans have always excelled figuring out how to fight against technologically superior opponents. She flicked to the next image, a human in a black armored suit that seemed to absorb light, Project Valkyrie. While our public face has been humanitarian aid and peaceful exploration, we've been quietly developing alternatives. Ships designed not for transport or aid, but purely for warfare. Soldiers trained not for peacekeeping, but for asymmetric combat against superior forces. You built a secret military fleet? The Secretary of Defense asked, looking both shocked and impressed. Not a fleet, sir. A response team. Small, elite, virtually undetectable, and absolutely lethal. Blackburn turned back to the president. Madam President, the Tarkians believe we're pacifists because that's all we've shown them. They've mistaken kindness for weakness. And what message would deploying this response team send? The president asked. Don, Admiral Torres laughed. A harsh sound with no humor. That they attacked the wrong damn species. Actually, Blackburn said, I was thinking something more specific. They attacked Earth's healers. So we send the angels of death. The president was quiet for a long moment. How quickly can your team deploy? They're already on standby. Authorization code is Azrael. Another long pause. Very well. Authorization Azrael is granted, but General? Make sure they understand this is a proportional response. We target military assets only. No civilians. Of course, Madam President. That's the difference between us and them. As the meeting ended, Admiral Torres pulled Blackburn aside. You really think your Black Ops team can make a dent against the Tarkian Empire? Blackburn's smile was cold. Admiral, the Tarkians have spent millennia fighting enemies who think like they do. They have no concept of human warfare, no understanding of guerrilla tactics, no appreciation for just how creative humans can get when we're angry, and we're very, very angry. Captain Maya Jackson stood before her crew in the briefing room of the USS Nemesis, a ship that officially didn't exist. The 12 men and women before her represented the most lethal fighting force humanity had ever produced, though you wouldn't know it by looking at them. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our first mission, she announced, bringing up the footage of the Tarkian attack. She let them watch in silence, noting how their expressions changed from curiosity to cold fury. 5 medical ships, she continued after the footage ended. The Geneva, the Nightingale, the Barton, the Dunant, and the Solferino, named after humanitarian icons and conventions, clearly marked as medical vessels, carrying over 1,200 personnel whose only mission was to provide medical aid to civilians caught in the Tarkian Centauri conflict. She paused, letting the information sink in. The Tarkians have mistaken our peaceful approach for weakness. They believe we lack the will or ability to fight back. Today we correct that misconception. Lieutenant Ravi Patel, her tactical officer, raised a hand. Target, the Tarkian flagship that ordered the attack, the Righteous Conquest. Currently orbiting Centauri Prime, overseeing the subjugation of the colony. Crew complement? Asked Chief Engineer Donnie Morgan. Approximately 3,000 Tarkian military personnel, Morgan whistled. 12 of us against 3,000 of them. I like those odds. Ew. Jackson couldn't help but smile at the gallows humor. Our objective is not to destroy the ship, but to send a message. We board, we locate Commander Voxar, we extract him, and we leave. And then? Asked Sergeant Leon West, the team's close-quarters combat specialist. Jackson's smile faded. And then we show him exactly what happens when you mistake human compassion for weakness. She brought up schematics of the Tarkian vessel. Our ship will approach using the stealth systems. The Tarkian sensors can't detect us when we're running dark. We'll dock here. She pointed to a maintenance hatch, using the magnetic grapples. Entry team will consist of myself, West, Patel, and Rodriguez. The rest of you will secure our exit and be prepared for extraction. Rules of engagement? West asked. We're not there to massacre their crew. Any Tarkian who doesn't directly threaten the mission is to be avoided or incapacitated, not killed, but, she added, meeting each of their eyes, if they stand between us and Voxar, show them no mercy. They showed our doctors none. The briefing continued for another hour, covering every detail of the mission. The crew of the Nemesis had trained together for years for exactly this scenario, though none of them had truly believed they would ever be deployed. As they prepared to depart, Jackson found herself in the ship's small observation deck, staring out at the stars. Ravi Patel joined her, his normally cheerful face solemn. Having second thoughts, Captain? He asked. No, she replied honestly. But I am reflecting on the irony. Earth has spent decades showing the galaxy our best, our healers, our teachers, our builders, and now, because of Tarkian arrogance, we have to show them our worst. Patel nodded. My sister was on the Nightingale. She was a trauma surgeon. His voice didn't waver, but Jackson could see the grief and rage behind his calm exterior. I'm sorry, Ravi. I didn't know. I requested this assignment as soon as I heard. He turned to her. You know what the Tarkians don't understand about humans? We're not just one thing. We can be gentle healers and merciless warriors in the same breath. We can build with one hand and destroy with the other. Jackson nodded. After today, they'll understand. The intercom buzzed. Captain, to the bridge. We're approaching Centauri space. As they walked to the bridge, Patel asked, what do you think the Tarkians will do after we take their commander? Probably declare all-out war on Earth, Jackson replied. And are we ready for that? Jackson stepped onto the bridge, taking in the sight of her crew at their stations, the best humanity had to offer. No, she said. But neither are they. Commander Voxar stood on the command deck of the Righteous Conquest, surveying the Centauri planet below. The rebellion had been crushed, as he knew it would be. Without human medical support, the rebels had no chance against Tarkian military might. Sir, Lieutenant Prell approached. We're receiving an odd reading on the outer hull. Section 42B. Meteorite impact? Voxar asked dismissively. No, sir. It registered briefly as, I'm not sure. The sensors couldn't classify it. Voxar waved a dismissive appendage. Run a diagnostic on the sensor array. Probably malfunctioning again. Yes, sir, Prell replied. But she looked unconvinced as she returned to her station. Voxar returned his attention to the subjugation reports from the planet's surface. Everything was proceeding according to plan. The humans had not responded to the destruction of their medical ships, just as he predicted. Weak, sentimental creatures. He was so absorbed in his victory that he didn't notice the slight change in air pressure on the bridge, or the way the shadows in the corner seemed to move of their own accord. He didn't notice anything at all until the lights suddenly went out, plunging the bridge into darkness except for the emergency backup lights. What is the meaning of this? He demanded, and then he heard it. A sound no Tarkian had heard in centuries of spacefaring. Laughter. Human laughter. Who's there? He called, suddenly feeling a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's temperature. A voice answered from everywhere and nowhere, speaking perfect Tarkian but with a distinctly human cadence. You took our healers, Commander Voxar. So we came to introduce ourselves. The other side of humanity. The emergency lights flickered, and Voxar caught a glimpse of black armored figures moving among his crew. Impossible. No one could board a Tarkian flagship undetected. Security. He shouted, but his call was cut short as something struck him from behind, and his world went dark. The last thing he heard was that same human voice, now directly beside his ear. We are Valkyrie, and we've come to collect. Voxar awoke to cold. Not the familiar chill of space, but something deeper, more penetrating. His four eyes struggled to focus in the dim light. Where was he? Not on his ship, that much was certain. The air smelled different, cleaner, with subtle chemical undertones his Tarkian senses couldn't identify. He's awake, a human voice announced, speaking their crude language. Did they think he couldn't understand them? Primitive fools. I demand to know where I am, Voxar said in perfect English. attempting to sit up. Only then did he realize he was restrained, secured to some kind of medical table. The irony wasn't lost on him. A human female stepped into his field of vision. Captain Maya Jackson, though he didn't know her name yet. "Comfortable, Commander?" she asked, checking something on a tablet. "We adjusted the atmosphere mix to match Tarkian standards. Wouldn't want you to suffer unnecessarily. You have committed an act of war," Voxar snarled. "The Tarkian Empire will burn your pathetic world to ash for this." "Funny," Jackson replied, not looking particularly concerned. "That's what I was going to say to you. About the act of war part. Not the burning to ash. We're a bit more selective with our targets." A door slid open, and another human entered. This one was older, female, with short gray hair and the bearing of someone accustomed to command. "General Blackburn," Jackson said, straightening slightly. "The patient is stable and ready for questioning." Blackburn approached the table, studying Voxar like a scientist might examine an interesting specimen. "Commander Voxar of the Tarkian Expeditionary Force, welcome aboard the USS Nemesis." "Your primitive vessel cannot hold me for long," Voxar threatened. "My fleet will track your engine signature and destroy you." Blackburn almost looked amused. "Our engine signature? Commander, your entire fleet is still searching for us within the Centauri system. They think we're hiding behind one of the moons. Meanwhile, we're halfway to Earth already." She leaned closer. "Do you know why? Because this ship doesn't leave a signature." "Oh, when?" "It doesn't register on your sensors. As far as the Tarkian Empire is concerned, this vessel doesn't exist." For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Voxar's features. "Impossible. All ships leave quantum trail markers." "Most do," Jackson agreed. "Ours doesn't. Just like our boarding team didn't register on your internal sensors. Just like the 12 of us managed to infiltrate your ship, neutralize your security, and extract you without setting off a single alarm." Voxar's breathing quickened. "What do you want?" "Understanding," Blackburn said. "You see, we've spent decades showing the galaxy only one facet of humanity, our compassion. Our desire to heal and help. You mistook that for weakness, for the totality of what we are." She pressed a button, and a holographic display appeared above them. 5 ships, each marked with the Red Cross, the medical fleet he had destroyed. 1,214 doctors, nurses, and support staff, Blackburn continued. People who dedicated their lives to healing others. Regardless of species or allegiance, they carried no weapons. They posed no military threat. They interfered in Tarkian affairs, Voxar countered. "The Centauri Rebellion. It was dying out until you decided to make an example of the colony," Jackson interrupted. "A massive orbital bombardment of civilian populations tends to create a need for medical assistance." Voxar's mandibles clicked in irritation. "You couldn't possibly understand the complexities of maintaining an interstellar empire." "Oh, I understand perfectly," Blackburn said. "You rule through fear. But fear only works when the subordinate believes they have something to lose. When you slaughtered those colonists, you created people with nothing left to lose." Classic insurgency catalyst. "Frankly, your military strategy is embarrassingly archaic." "How dare you?" Voxar sputtered. "The Tarkian Empire has conquered 100 worlds, primitive worlds," Jackson cut in. "Worlds without united governments or advanced technology. You've been the biggest kid on the playground for so long you've forgotten how to actually fight." Blackburn nodded to Jackson, who activated another holographic display. This one showed the righteous conquest, but from an external view. Voxar watched in shock as a small, sleek black ship barely larger than a shuttle attached itself to his massive flagship's hull, completely undetected. "While you were unconscious," Blackburn explained, "we downloaded your ship's entire database, tactical information, fleet deployments, communication protocols. Everything." "That's not possible," Voxar whispered, but with significantly less conviction. "Here's what happens next, Commander," Blackburn continued, ignoring his protest. "We're going to return you to your people, alive and unharmed." Voxar blinked in confusion. "You're releasing me?" "With a message," Jackson added. A demonstration, really. Blackburn's expression hardened. The Tarkian Empire will issue a formal apology for the destruction of our medical fleet. You will withdraw all forces from the Centauri system immediately, and you will never again target non-combatants, human or otherwise. A harsh laugh escaped Voxar's breathing slits. Or what? You'll send more unarmed ships for us to destroy? Jackson smiled. But there was no warmth in it. Actually, Commander, this is where the demonstration part comes in. Grand Admiral Zelter of the Tarkian Imperial Fleet paced the command deck of the flagship Eternal Dominion. It had been 3 standard cycles since Commander Voxar's unexplained disappearance from his own bridge, and the entire Centauri system was now on high alert. Any word from the search vessels? He demanded of his communications officer. None, sir. 10 ships searching the system, and no sign of Commander Voxar or any unusual vessels. Zelter hissed in frustration. How could a Tarkian commander simply vanish from a locked, secure bridge? The security footage showed nothing, just a power fluctuation, and then Voxar was gone. His bridge crew claimed to have seen shadowy figures, but the ship's sensors detected no intruders. The whole situation was impossible. Sir, the communications officer called out suddenly. We're receiving a direct transmission. Source unknown. Doan, put it through, Zelter ordered. The main screen flickered, and Zelter found himself staring at Commander Voxar. He appeared unharmed but noticeably shaken. Commander. Where are you? What happened, Grand Admiral? Voxar began, his voice unusually subdued. I am aboard a human vessel called the Nemesis. I was extracted from the Righteous Conquest by a human special operations team. Impossible, Zelter scoffed. Our sensors would have detected any approach. A human female stepped into view beside Voxar. Your sensors detected exactly what we wanted them to detect, Admiral, which was nothing. Who are you? Zelter demanded. General Harriet Blackburn, Earth Defense Force. Your commander has a message to deliver. Arya, I suggest you listen carefully. Voxar looked distinctly uncomfortable as he spoke. Grand Admiral, the humans possess technological capabilities and military expertise far beyond what we estimated. They have operated a secret fleet and special forces program parallel to their humanitarian efforts. He hesitated. They have terms. Zelter echoed incredulously. The Tarkian Empire does not negotiate with inferior species. Then perhaps a demonstration is in order, Blackburn said calmly. Kazo. Admiral, could you please check on your patrol fleet in the Arcturus sector? Zelter frowned. Why would I, Grand Admiral? His tactical officer interrupted. Emergency signals from Arcturus. Our patrol fleet is under attack. Show me, Zelter commanded. The screen split, showing the transmission from Voxar alongside tactical data from the Arcturus sector. 6 Tarkian warships, each the pride of the Imperial fleet, were being systematically disabled by something. The Tarkian vessels fired their weapons wildly into empty space, hitting nothing. What is happening? Zelter demanded. A demonstration. Blackburn replied simply. 6 ships against 6 ships. Even odds, one might say, except your ships can't see ours. This is impossible, Zelter whispered as he watched another Tarkian warship go dark, its engines disabled. No, Admiral. This is humanity, Blackburn corrected. The full spectrum of humanity. We offer hope and healing with one hand, and if necessary, we deliver justice with the other. The tactical screen showed the last Tarkian ship disabled, its weapons and propulsion systems offline but life support intact. Not a single Tarkian life lost, a calculated demonstration of precision and restraint. Now, Blackburn continued, Commander Voxar will explain our terms. 3 days later, Captain Maya Jackson stood beside General Blackburn in the President's office, watching the news broadcast. The Tarkian Grand Admiral was announcing the immediate withdrawal of all forces from the Centauri system and the establishment of a demilitarized zone between Tarkian and human space. They're actually doing it. Jackson marveled. Did you doubt they would? Blackburn asked. Frankly? Yes, they've been bullies for thousands of years. I didn't think they'd cave so quickly. President Russell switched off the broadcast. They didn't have a choice. Your team's operation changed the equation fundamentally, as the general predicted. Blackburn shrugged modestly. The Tarkians built their empire on intimidation. When facing a force they couldn't intimidate or even detect, their strategy collapsed. What about Commander Voxar? Jackson asked. Do you think they'll punish him for his failure? Actually, Russell said, our intelligence suggests he's been promoted. Promoted? Jackson exclaimed. After we kidnapped him from his own bridge and forced him to deliver our terms? Apparently, the Tarkian High Command was impressed that he survived an encounter with us, Blackburn explained with a hint of amusement. They're calling him the first Tarkian to make contact with the human shadow forces and live to tell about it. Speaking of which, the president interjected, the existence of Project Valkyrie is raising some concerns among our allies. They're wondering what else we've been hiding. Let them wonder, Blackburn said. The uncertainty works in our favor, Jackson nodded. The Tarkians now know we can reach out and touch them anywhere, anytime. They'll be looking over their shoulders for years. Mandis, and the rest of the galaxy? The president asked. The rest of the galaxy just learned something important about humanity, Blackburn replied. We prefer to heal, but we're fully capable of harm when provoked. Most species will find that reassuring, not concerning. And the ones who don't, Blackburn smiled thinly. They'll learn, eventually. 2 months later. Lieutenant Prell, now Captain Prell, stood on the observation deck of a Tarkian diplomatic vessel approaching Earth for the first formal meeting between human and Tarkian leadership. Commander Voxar, now serving as a special advisor to the Grand Admiral, joined her. It looks so ordinary, Prell mused, studying the blue-green planet through the viewport. Hard to believe such a dangerous species evolved there. Not dangerous, Voxar corrected. Complicated. The humans possess a duality most species lack. Their capacity for compassion is matched only by their capacity for violence, and they can transition between the two with disturbing ease. Is that why the High Command insisted on this diplomatic mission? Fear? Nakra. Voxar considered the question. Not fear. Respect. For millennia, the Tarkian Empire encountered only species we could dominate through superior technology or military strength. The humans are different. Their medical ships carry no weapons, yet their military vessels can't even be detected. They heal their enemies and neutralize their opponents without killing them. Some would call that weakness, Prell observed. I thought so too once, Voxar admitted. I was wrong. Their restraint isn't weakness, it's control, mastery. They could have killed us all, but chose not to. That makes them more dangerous, not less. This ship's communications system activated. Face. Tarkian vessel. This is Earth orbital control. You are cleared for approach. Medical teams are standing by if any of your crew require assistance during atmospheric entry. Voxar activated the response channel. Understood. Earth control. And thank you. As the diplomatic vessel began its descent toward the planet, a small black ship observed from a distance, completely invisible to Tarkian sensors. Aboard the Nemesis, Captain Maya Jackson watched the proceedings with satisfaction. I think they've learned their lesson? Lieutenant Patel asked, joining her at the view screen. For now, Jackson replied. But we'll be watching, just in case they need a refresher course. The Nemesis turned away, disappearing once more into the vast darkness of space, humanity's silent guardian, ready if needed but hoping never to be called upon again. In the years that followed, the Tarkian Empire became one of Earth's strongest allies, their societies complementing each other in unexpected ways. Tarkian engineering combined with human medical science produced breakthroughs that benefited countless worlds. The Centauri colonies flourished under joint protection, and throughout the galaxy, a new saying spread among spacefaring civilizations: threaten a human, and they'll offer you medicine. Threaten their healers, and you'll meet their warriors. Few ever needed to learn the truth of those words firsthand. Grand Admiral Zeltor stood before the Tarkian High Council, completing his annual report on human relations. In conclusion, he said, the human alliance has proven beneficial beyond our initial projections. Trade has increased by 327%. Scientific collaboration has yielded 42 new patents, and their medical assistance during the Proxima Plague saved millions of Tarkian lives. The High Chancellor nodded approvingly. And what of their military capabilities? Have we gathered more intelligence on their shadow fleet? Zeltor hesitated. Limited information, Chancellor. They maintain absolute secrecy regarding Project Valkyrie. Our best intelligence suggests they've expanded the program, but details remain elusive. Do they still patrol our borders? We believe so, though we've never detected them. The Chancellor's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Curious species, these humans. They send us their healers freely, yet hide their warriors in shadow. With respect, Chancellor, Zeltor said, I believe that's precisely the point. The humans showing us their compassion wasn't a sign of weakness as we once thought. It was a luxury they could afford because of their strength. A lesson hard learned, the Chancellor acknowledged, and one we shall not forget. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, the USS Nemesis and her sister ships continued their silent patrol, that humanity's angels of death watching over a peace built by humanity's healers, two sides of the same coin, each making the other possible. For a species as complex as humanity, there could be no greater tribute than being known throughout the galaxy for their ability to heal, and the terrible consequences of harming those healers. The Tarkians had learned this lesson. The rest of the galaxy took note.